Hello everyone, welcome to She Knows Arsenal Daily, keeping you up to date on all things Arsenal. So make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel to help your girl out. Yes, today is the day I am going to announce the winner of the giveaway, so make sure you guys stay tuned until the end of the video to see who won the prize. Mikel Arteta has been charged by the FA for his post-match comments after the Newcastle game. The statement says that his alleged comments constitute misconduct as they are insulting towards the match officials and or detrimental to the game and or bring the game into disrepute. He has until the 21st of November to respond.
Oh my God, corny, lame, boo, tomato, I'm throwing tomatoes.
This is so lame at this point. To be honest, this is super corny from the FA. Mikel Arteta did what most managers would have done in his circumstance and speak out against the poor refereeing. And despite a lot of people burying their head in the sand and pretending as though the Newcastle game wasn't refereed poorly, and that the goal that Newcastle scored was, if that had been against anybody else's team, they would have felt exactly how Arsenal felt. Even if you take the goal out of the equation, the Bruno Guimaraes situation where he just rams his forearm into the back of Jorginho's head, for me, is just gross misconduct. It really, really is. I mean, just because it's not the elbow doesn't mean it could not have hurt Jorginho, and it was outside of the game, where the Kai Havertz situation was within the game. The Bruno Guimaraes one was not. He was completely out of control, rattled, and he should have been red carded. And I don't think Mikel Arteta was in the wrong at all. I think he just stood up for his team, stood up for his club, and did something that most managers, if they're being honest with themselves, would have done. And so I'm not really understanding how he's bringing the game into disrepute or anything like that. I think that basically what happened is Mikel Arteta spoke out. It didn't look good on the FA, and so they're doubling down on the decisions that they made within that game. And now, in order to continue on with this dictatorship, they are trying to silence people from speaking out against them, because the biggest narrative around the 2023-2024 season has been the refereeing. We've been speaking about the refereeing since the day the season started. And so instead of trying to get things right and trying to mitigate the mistakes being made, they're trying to silence people from keeping them accountable for their poor refereeing. And for me, that's just the sign of a dictatorship. That's exactly how things go down. The first thing that they do is try to keep people from speaking out by giving them fines, whatever, chopping their fingers off, whatever. And so even though I don't think Mikel Arteta is going to get his finger chopped off anytime soon, I do think that they're taking the first step to try to scare Mikel Arteta and Arsenal from speaking out against them. And so it'll be interesting to see how Arsenal respond to this. But really, we have won 2 games since then, and Arsenal the players have moved on. I think the fans are starting to move on as well. I just think this is something that we can go ahead and move on from. We know nothing is going to change, because instead of trying to make things better, they're trying to silence people. So the only thing that Arsenal can do is continue to win. That's the biggest thing. You have to be better than the refs. You have to be better than the 12th man on the pitch, And so Arsenal have done that really well in the last couple of games by winning those games and not letting all the noise around Newcastle sidetrack them or rattle them or make them not perform at their best. And so Arsenal just have to continue to do what they do, because these referees are not going to change. And clearly they don't want to change. They just want people to shut up. So yeah, but it will be interesting to see how the club responds to this. Brazil lost 2-1 to Colombia in their World Cup qualifier on Thursday, but we don't care about that, because Gabriel Martinelli scored his first goal for Brazil. He scored in the 4th minute through some really nice interchange between him and Vinny Jr. before Vinny Jr. went off injured, and he played the full 90 and made a very good account of himself despite the players around him being quite poor. And the less we say about the Brazilian national team right now, the better. What we care about is the fact that we left there with something.
I'm leaving here with something.
All we really care about is that Martinelli left with something. That's all we cared about. And that he didn't get injured. There was a moment where he looked like he had picked up a little bit of a knock, but he did play the full 90, so hopefully that means that he's fit enough to play against Argentina. And Gabriel also played quite a few minutes. They took him off once Brazil went down 2-1. They took off a couple of defenders and brought on some more attackers to try to save the match. It didn't work. But Martinelli, all in all, had a really good game, made a very good account of himself, was very calm on the ball. He dealt with the pressure a lot better than some of his compatriots. I thought Rodrigo on the night was quite poor. Rafinha was really bad as well. Bruno G, like, what are you doing? But I thought Martinelli, he got on the ball, he held on to it, he made good decisions on the ball. But really, Brazil have been poor for a while now. And even though some of their bigger accounts want to pull out individual performances from players like Renan Lodi or Emerson Royale, or even some of them are pinning a lot of the blame onto Gabriel. The reality is that I sat there during the World Cup in the stadium when Brazil went out to Croatia and thought to myself, this is a really poor Brazil side, and the mentality is not great. The football is not great, and a lot of them think that they're better than what they are. And equally, there are a lot of good players that are there that aren't getting enough playing time because these other guys are playing. And so until they figure out the balance between these superstars that think that they're super good but are not performing, and these younger players that probably deserve more playing time and find a playing style that works for all of them, they're going to be crap. And so when I watch them play, all I do is watch our players play and say, I just want you to get a goal or get a clean sheet and get out of there without an injury. And so that is what Martinelli has done. Let's see what happens against Argentina. Let's see if they make some changes, because really Brazil are in some trouble here. But in regards to Martinelli, we did what we needed to do. David Raya got his first start for Spain against Cyprus. They won 3-1. Not much to really say here, but congratulations to David Raya. And it's nice to mark his first start with a win. Spain had already qualified for the Euros, so it wasn't a game with any jeopardy on it. But again, we just want to see our players do well and contribute in a positive way. And so, yeah, congratulations to David Raya, and hopefully there's many more in the future. Big news coming out of Brentford that Ivan Toney will not be leaving in January. Alex Crook has said that I have been reliably told that Ivan Toney is not going to move in the January transfer window. It's going to be in the summer if he ends up leaving Brentford. Ivan Toney will demand a release clause in any talks with Brentford over a new contract as he continues to push for a move away from the club. Brentford are confident that the star striker Ivan Toney will sign a new contract. The Bees are adamant that they will not sell him in the upcoming January window. And why would they? Why would they? Brentford are not necessarily in a healthy enough position, I think, to be selling Ivan Toney, especially if they don't think that they're going to get the fee that they deserve. And what Ivan Toney is worth to them is not necessarily the same as what his market value is. And I think a lot of people mix those two things up. When Brentford is going to sit there and say, you know what, 80 million plus for Ivan Toney, most clubs are going to say, what are you smoking? But to a team like Brentford, who aren't necessarily performing to their best of their ability, they don't want to get into that slippery slope of like falling down the table. For them, Ivan Toney is worth almost 100 million. That's how important he is to their team, period. So I'm not surprised that this is happening, because Brentford haven't started off amazing. They've seen what the dip has looked like without him, and to lose him in the January transfer window for peanuts, and then to have to try to bring in somebody that's probably of a lesser quality is not attractive to them, when they could just wait into the summer and bring in someone else and sell him then. The only thing from an Arsenal perspective that I've said from the beginning is that if Arsenal do not bring in Ivan Toney in January, I don't want him in the summer, because there'll be other players available, and we will have already went through the season, and whatever happens is whatever happens. Ivan Toney is the type of signing that you make in January if you feel like he's going to be the difference between you winning something or not. And I do think that he could make a huge difference for Arsenal. But Arsenal's biggest problem has become more and more apparent as the days go by. Before, I think a lot of Arsenal fans felt like it was just get a striker in and everything will be solved. Just make sure Eddie doesn't play any games. But the reality is Arsenal are not creating enough chances. And we'd have a very imbalanced midfield. And so if Arsenal only have like 50 million to spend, first of all, that's not going to be anywhere near enough to get Ivan Toney, but it may be enough to get an Andre. It may be enough to maybe talk to Aston Villa about Douglas Luiz. It might be enough to loan in Ruben Neves. And midfield is our main issue because Thomas Partey is not fit and the Havertz situation hasn't really worked out yet. And so I think this news is not that big of a deal from an Arsenal perspective if they go into the January window and bring in a midfielder. But I don't think we're necessarily in a circumstance right now where if we go through the January transfer window and bring in nobody, that we won't be leaving ourselves short. So I know some Arsenal fans are going to be really, really devastated by this news because they feel like just bring in a striker and everything is solved. But if Ivan Toney is playing in this Arsenal team, he's also not scoring a lot of goals because there's not a lot of chances being created. And I do think that if you fix that problem, you get Odegaard firing again. You know, you get a balanced midfield in there with the left center mid is not a big gaping hole and a big mess. If you fix that and you get some consistency in that lineup, you get Gabriel Jesus back. That's probably the biggest one. You'll start to create more chances, and when you create more chances, you're not snatching at the ones that you get. I would like to see Arsenal bring in a striker, and if we get to the summer window and we've done well, I don't want Ivan Toney. I'm going to want us to look in a different direction. I wouldn't mind a Benjamin Sesko. If you could try to convince an Osimhen to come, there are other options out there that would suit us better from a squad building perspective long term than Ivan Toney, who's more of a January signing to get you over the line, if that makes sense. So you guys will let me know how you feel about Ivan Toney and if this is a big deal for Arsenal or a big loss or something to be concerned about. If you feel whether or not the midfield signing is more important than the striker signing, you guys let me know. Arsenal are chasing Gabriel Moscardo, another Brazilian named Gabriel. Arsenal are one of the teams ready to move for Corinthians' Gabriel Moscardo. Now, this is a player that a lot of people are talking about and a lot of people like. He's one of the next-gen Brazilian stars, and they have so many coming down the pipeline. It's ridiculous, but he is one of them. He's 18 years old, and he happens to play at Corinthians, where Edu has some connections. You know, that's what I believe. He worked there before, so he probably has some connections. And Arsenal would like to bring him in, potentially. I mean, he looks the business. He looks like a very young, like, Brazilian Declan Rice type. Like, that's what he looks like. Whether or not Arsenal are going to actually move on it, that's yet to be seen. Arsenal tend to be linked to a lot of these young stars and never really get them over the line. It doesn't feel like it's a big priority it doesn't feel like future-proofing through buying young stars before they become stars is a part of our recruitment process. And so whenever we're linked with players like this, I watch their comps, I get excited, but then I'm always like, when have we brought anybody in? When has Edu actually went to Brazil and brought us a gem? It hasn't happened yet. He brought us Marquinhos, you know what I mean? And so it's hard to get excited about this because we also know that the likelihood of him coming to Arsenal instead of going to Barcelona is very low. Barcelona are also very interested in this player, and they need a number 6. Now, are they going to bring in an 18-year-old number 6? I don't know. But Barcelona seem to be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. There doesn't ever seem to be any sort of like rules for them or anything. And we know Brazilian players, Portuguese players, any sort of Hispanic players, they all want to go to Barcelona. If they have the opportunity to go there, they will go. And so, you know, this would be something that I would love to see Arsenal do. I would love to see us future-proof our team in certain positions with young players that could be loaned back out or come into the team. I would love to see us use our academy a little bit more and bring some of them through. but it just doesn't seem like a priority. It doesn't seem like Arsenal have the ability to walk and chew gum at the same time. And what I mean by that is recruit for right now and also recruit for the future at the same time. It seems like we can only just focus on the right now, you know? And even though our players are young when we buy them, they still are usually for now because they end up starting in our team. So, great link. Definitely is a player that we should be looking at. We have quite a few older DMs that are going to be moving on soon. Jorginho, Thomas Partey, and El Neni. And being able to bring in a young player to cook while we bring in maybe some more experienced players is probably the way to go. But whether or not Arsenal can fight off the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid and Chelsea, who are also currently leading the race for him, is yet to be seen. You know, Arsenal have just not seemed to make this a priority. But I know a lot of Arsenal fans love this player. They think he's the next big thing and we need to be like in this race. Whether or not Arsenal get in this race, you guys let me know if you think the likelihood is there or not. But beyond that, would you like to see Gabriel Moscardo at Arsenal? And now it's time to announce the winner for the 20K giveaway. Again, thank you guys so much for getting the channel to 20K. I really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's announce the winner. The winner is Jane Burns 7673. You are the winner of the £200 gift card to Arsenal Direct, as well as a year subscription to my Patreon. Thank you so much to everybody that entered the giveaway, and congratulations to Jane Burns 7673 for entering and winning. Make sure the way that you're going to be able to claim your prize is you need to email me at sheknowsarsenal@gmail.com. You email me there with a screenshot of your Instagram where you've subscribed to Jessica Black TV, as well as a screenshot of you being a subscriber for She Knows Arsenal, the YouTube channel. And those two things will allow me to give you your prize, and I'll also do it via email because that's the way that you're going to get your digital gift card, and also how I'm going to get you entered or listed as a patron as well. So congratulations again, Jane Burns 7673. I really appreciate you entering and winning, and I look forward to you becoming a patron as well. And I'm sure you're looking forward to that gift card because Arsenal have dropped some major merch lately, and so you'll probably want to use that soon. But thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. I know you guys really like these. You guys have been really enjoying them. And the one thing that you guys have been telling me is to make timestamps. So I will spend that extra bit of time making timestamps for you guys so you could just go to what you want to watch. But yeah, we are trying to get through this international break. You guys will always know that there'll be at least one daily show for you guys on here. And so, yeah. I will see you guys in the next one. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.